The bounty hunters. Don't pull the trigger, squeeze it. It should be almost a surprise when the gun fires. Mustard advises Roth as she tries to get used to the handgun she's been training with. Why do we need to do this again? We're Mara. We have poison in our... Andrea begins to say, and Mustard grabs her by the hand and outright licks her fingers along the nails, making sure to get a dose. Because I get more kick out of cough medicine. Poison may not be a common trick with all the axiom everywhere, but that doesn't mean it will always work. Even if I was a tret, that would just make me kind of woozy for a while. Your poison is meant to debilitate and numb smaller prey and slowly build up in larger threats until it creates a fatal mistake. And if I charge it with axiom, then that little lick would have laid you out for days, Andrea says before smirking. Not to say I don't mind the attention on my fingers. I rather think my nails are quite the lovely shade of green. All natural, too. Our family's got it good, Roth says before letting out a squeak of surprise as she fires the handgun and she moves to toss it up and away, but Mustard catches it without even looking. It's just a tool, Roth. No need to be afraid, Mustard says, flicking the safety on before anything silly happens and holding it to her. Care to try again? Until I can use these things as well as you can, you bet I will, Roth says, all but snatching the gun out of his hand. Thankfully, with the safety on, no one is hurt with the careless handling of the deadly weapon. Be gentler with it. When a gun is loaded, you have to treat it as if it's going to go off at any moment. But you said to not be afraid of it. You're not afraid of the vacuum of space either, but that doesn't mean you're going to hurl yourself out an airlock. There's a difference between not being afraid and being reckless, Mustard says calmly, and Andrea scoffs. I still don't get it. With my arm fins, I could cut a Canador through her power armor, and with my nail needles, I can take down pinpoint targets in the air, on the ground, or underwater. Guns, lasers, and plasma don't even work underwater, so why would we bother with it? We're more like specialists, right? Yes, but even specialists need to have the basics, Mustard remarks. What you guys call basics, most people call special forces, Roth says, even as she aims down the sights of the gun and damn near scares herself as it goes off. It's on the outside edge, but it's on target, mostly. And what you girls call the basics, we call special needs, Mustard remarks as he draws his pistol and fires off a trinity of shots in a quick movement, 2 in the bullseye and 1 off to the side. That's what I'm hoping you two to get to. How long will that take, Andrea asks, and Mustard shrugs. Maybe twice your body weight in ammunition. A reliable snapshot is a hard thing to get down. Mustard remarks, look, we're not looking for miracles. You girls have good instincts for blending in, finding trouble, and you can go to places no one else can. I want you to be safe, though. If we're going to work on things. Mustard trails off as both Roth and Andrea start smiling wide and get a far-off look on their faces. He rolls his eyes and takes a few moments to clean and examine his gun before replacing the magazine and holstering it. A trinity of bullets from the ammo box right next to them gives his hands a bit more to do as he reloads the old magazine and then slots it away. It takes a few more moments for Roth and Andrea to come out of their happy places. So, we going to keep doing this? Do we have to? Roth asks. Yes, training is important. This is actually my training time and I'm spending it with you two. I'm in here for this part of the week and I'm not leaving until this ammo crate is at least half empty, Mustard remarks. It's very, very important. It's what separates the punks that I can knock to the side like a bowling pin and the people we have to take really damn seriously. But it's boring, Andrea complains, and Mustard rolls his eyes. Still important, Mustard remarks as he steps to the next little cell and he starts to have his target go down the range until it's at the very end. I've still got nothing on J3 and Tang. He waits for a moment and then draws his gun and fires a single shot. Then he grins and fires off 2 more, followed by a flurry as he empties the magazine. Looks about right. It takes a while for the target to come all the way back and pulls it off the hanger. What do you think? There's a crude, smiley face in the head section of the target. How? Skill. Skill and practice. That, and I'm making a movie reference. One that I'm inviting you to watch with me if you want after this. Mustard offers, and both girls look interested. Lethal weapon. Our leads are a family man and a man in mourning of his beloved wife's death. Action, heartache, comedy, and more. Interested? There's a quick, flurried discussion between Roth and Andrea, and they come to an agreement before quickly getting their pistols out and firing. At first only to empty the small crate in a way that Mustard won't disagree with. Then, after a few comments about their accuracy, they start getting into a competition with each other to see who can be the better shot with the volatile and scary kinetic weapons. Halfway through, they stop flinching and their accuracy increases. After that, Mustard starts teasing them both in between his own shots, and they start competing with him as well. Or rather, they more compete for the closest gap between first and second place, as Mustard is clearly having a very, very easy time staying ahead of them both. Still, the crate is outright empty soon enough, and Mustard is making sure they both properly stow and store the weapons. "Do you think we can deflect bullets with our fins?" Roth asks, and Mustard instantly has a 1,000-yard stare as he pictures her screaming with a hole in her arm and seeing it happen all too acesically. "Let's table that idea for now. Besides, I thought you two wanted to watch some classic entertainment with me." "Sounds good," Roth says as she and Andrea make sure to get as close to Mustard as possible. "So, how long until the upgrades are finished? We weren't given a time frame," Andrea asks as they follow Mustard into the small entertainment center and he runs a hand through his hair in thought. "Hard to say. The chain breaker, for all it's a lean and mean ship, is also a big thing. Ship sizes tend to skew towards the gigantic, and most of the work is just getting rid of all the sheer hell we haven't been able to scrub out yet. We've only been using about 5 to 10% of the available structure thanks to our skeleton crew and our self-reliance," Mustard remarks before shrugging. "We've got to stay on the ship to make sure that there's no chucklehead sneaking aboard alongside the workers." "Oh, that would be a problem, wouldn't it?" Roth asks before she considers, then darts to the nearest wall, opens up the maintenance hallway and launches finger needles into something that Mustard didn't sense. "The hell?" Mustard demands with his gun already out and held in both hands. "Still awake! She's still awake!" Roth squeals, running away from the open panel, and a lutrin races out, the tips of her antenna glowing alongside her eyes before being slammed into the side and a gun pressed very pointedly into the side of her head courtesy of Mustard. "And you are?" he demands her. She says, and part of Mustard wonders if there actually is an alien out there somewhere named probably. "Well, mind telling me exactly what the hell you thought you were doing? The work crews all have a very distinct sash on that you are pointedly lacking," Mustard says before glancing her up and down a bit more. "As well as most clothing. Are you really in here with just a one-piece and boots? You do know that if you have to sneak to get in, then it's hostile territory." "I know," she mutters in a dejected tone, hoping for, "Are you narrating what's happening?" Mustard demands in shock. "I says nervously, as Mustard starts giving her another quick scan as she tries to figure out exactly where she belongs. Lutrin are a people that all look identical to each other, busty and athletic green-skinned woman with fuzzy antenna. It's so bad that even though they can tell each other apart with a fair amount of ease, they still have markings, tattoos, and paints that tell them apart from each other for everyone else. They're required by law in some places to have either visible name tags or distinct markings of some kind, as it's too easy for them to take advantage of the confusion that two Lutrin in the room bring about." "Wait, the number 7 is on her back," Andrea says, and Mustard leans to the side and sees that right in the small of her back is a big black number 7 in Galactic Basic. I live on Deck 7. Honey, let her go. She's one of... Roth begins, and Mustard pulls up the gun and nearly grinds it into something utterly invisible directly above him. Around the muzzle of his gun, a black carapace slowly unveils itself in midair and spreads to reveal a jet-black insectoid monster woman wearing a dark pink sweater that covers her up to decency, and like a splash of blood, her lips are painted bright red. Of course, decency and child-friendly are different things when you look like you're smuggling a quad of watermelons under your oversized sweater. One of the huntress Yzma's daughters. When I felt her presence, it all clicked. Mustard says softly before letting go, and then looking right up at Yzma before he sniffs and holsters the pistol. I nearly killed you. This weapon can and will pierce your exoskeleton, and from that angle your brains would be scrambled in the most literal ways imaginable. He steps back and gives the enormous Zidane room to reach to the floor and right herself quickly to tower over him like a behemoth of both primeval hunger and lust. If not for the clearly amused and playful quirk of the single facial feature that Mustard can read, he would have already hit the panic button. I am again intrigued human. How did you sense me? I was invisible, inaudible. I cast no wake in the atmosphere and left no scent behind. I moved so carefully that there wouldn't be any tremors. I foiled all 5 of your basic senses, and you have little to no experience in sensing through axiom, so how did you know I was there? How do I know I'm not going to regret holstering my gun? Mustard volleys back, and Yzma's smile goes from amused to dazzling with a massive array of teeth on display. She then slowly reaches for something in her massive sweater and pulls out a small disc. She taps it, and it's a recording of Pukey. I welcome you and your daughter to my ship, Miss Yzma. It's the least I can do after you saved my life. Actually, if you could go around and give my boys a bit of a brush-up on their stealth detection, I'd appreciate it. We need to make sure no one's slacking off. Ever. The hologram of Pukey says, and Mustard groans. Does that suffice? Yzma asks, and gets an unimpressed stare from Mustard that sends her into giggles. I'm nearly 8 times your size, armor-plated, stealth-capable, strong enough to rip you to pieces and have more kills to my name than you have hot meals. That just means the severed head goes on the mantle and not into the incinerator. Is there a point to this? Mustard asks, and she giggles all the harder. Yinnish. Yzma orders her daughter, and the now fairly intimidated Lutrin hides behind her Zidane mother. I thought I had your measure. Then your captain impressed me. Now you've impressed me. She shifts around Mustard as she does this, and both Roth and Andrea are only a few steps away, but uncertain of what to do. Meaning you're here for more answers, which is why my finding you with all 5 of my senses foiled is so interesting, Mustard says softly. Oh my yes, it's something that's rarely seen. There's no proper name, but for a race to seemingly have it on the regular, such an instinct for playful stealth, such viciousness and determination in battle, such endurance and such an ability to sense danger, Yzma says before tittering. You only sensed me when I was about to move. There was nothing else that changed. I was perfectly hidden until I planned to do something. You're going to be testing the rest of the crew, aren't you? Oh my yes. Try not to get killed, Mustard says, and Yzma titters. I will! Come along, Yinnish! We've got to meet the rest of the men, Yzma says, reaching up to the ceiling and grabbing her fully grown but much smaller daughter as she rises up and turns invisible with her little girl in her arms. Then they're both gone to each and every sense. Mustard reaches under his shirt and pulls out smoke grenade and tears the wire out. The massive gout of bright white smoke which he directs down the hall highlights the still present Yzma and Yinnish. He quirks an eyebrow, and the invisible alien matriarch scuttles away on the ceiling, giggling hysterically as she goes.